Hi all, Eric here. Today I want to share with you one of my sketch maps. A sketch map is where I take a big idea that would otherwise be amorphous and difficult to define, and I distill it down like visual knowledge compression into a single page sketch that really can help map the way for how to think, mindsets and action sets and rule sets for how to move forward. If you saw my episode number 7 of the extra series, Help Wanted, Know Your Value, then you may have seen that I announced 2 sketch maps to launch the SkētchMap series. This is the first one, and this one is 4 tiers of help. And it's really aimed at helping you get unstuck and get ahead in your career or in your job. If you haven't done so already, download the actual sketch map. It looks just like this right here. And you can download the entire thing. I've made it a PDF for you to grab. I do these videos because it helps you understand the story behind the sketch, which I find really fills it in so that you can use it to its maximum potential. So hopefully you've downloaded the sketch map on the 4 tiers of help, and now I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes director's cut of the making of it and what it means. So the first one I want to talk about is actually tier 4. And this one is, well, believe it or not, of all the tiers, the least helpful, but it doesn't sound like it should be. It's actually the one that I started very young in my career, even high school jobs, where I thought this was the way to orient to how to do a great job and be of great help. And it's called, just like it reads here, do what you're told. Now, do what you're told for many years I thought was the best form of help. If somebody has hired you and your supervisor comes up to you and says, hey, could you do this for me? And you say, yeah, I'll do that. I thought that was great. And there's different orientations to how to do what you're told. Now, I have been, and I have lots of people on my teams, that this is their orientation to being of help in their job and their career. And it's not a bad thing. In fact, doing what you're told can actually be really, really helpful. It's just the lowest on this particular totem pole if what you're trying to do is get unstuck and get ahead. If you're going to do what you're told, do it well. Do it fast. Do it with enthusiasm. If somebody tells you something to do and you do that, you're going to find that it is very helpful. Now, I don't know that it's get unstuck and get ahead in your career kind of helpful, but it's definitely appreciated. It's definitely a tremendous orientation to have around doing what you're told. I would definitely avoid this middle one, hiding out. You may have heard folks around the office, perhaps in a larger organization or team, say, hey, the boss is coming. Just look busy so they don't give you something to do. Well, the thing is, if you're in a do what you're told tier of help and you're hiding out so that no one can tell you what to do, then you're really not producing much of anything. Now, this last one is really, from my point of view, a fireable offense. If somebody is doing what they're told but begrudgingly, or, everyone has a bad day, but on a regular basis, doing it begrudgingly, that's usually a coaching conversation, a conversation to figure out how to change something really quick or someone's out. And certainly if somebody's being subversive in any of their actions, that could be bad gossip that they're spreading around the office around things that have nothing to do with anything about their work, or other things where they're actually undoing or unhinging some of the work other people are doing. And that's usually not something I'll tolerate on my teams. But if you're going to do what you're told, and I've got lots of people on my team who do, then do it well, do it fast, and do it with enthusiasm. So that's doing what you're told, which again isn't bad. I used to do it for many years and I have people still on my team who do it. If you're going to do it well, do it fast, do it with enthusiasm. It's still helpful. How did I start to learn that there might be higher tiers of helpfulness that I could consider? Well, I actually learned it in high school, where I learned some of my work ethic from one of my very first jobs, where I would actually suit up in this little apron to be a busboy in a Chinese food restaurant. And when I would come into the Chinese food restaurant suited up for the day, I was very enthusiastic to do what I was told. Oftentimes what I was told was get all the places set on the tables before everybody starts to come in for dinner. And I did. And I'd fold the cloth napkins all perfectly. And I'd even create an inventory ready to go for the turnover throughout the night, so I didn't have to keep doing those things that were just ready at hand for myself and the staff. I would do all that, and I'd do it pretty fast. And as a result, I was finished. I did everything I was told, and I actually felt pretty proud of myself. And I was standing there one day when the owner, who he and his wife had moved from China to start this business as a Chinese food restaurant in our local area, came up to me and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I did everything I was told. And I folded all the napkins and I put all the place settings and I created an inventory and it's all right there and we're ready for the dinner crowd." And I was really proud of myself. And he said, "But I'm not paying you to stand there." He said, "There's a lot more work to do. Why didn't you just ask? Why didn't you let me know you're done?" And I started to realize, oh, I don't know, I didn't think about it. He goes, there's peas that we need to peel. There's other things we can be doing in the kitchen. There's prep we need to be doing over here. He goes, you can't just be standing there while you're working for me. And I realized, oh, there must be something more than just doing what you're told. And that's when I learned a little bit more about some work ethic opportunities that helped me at least to get unstuck and get ahead over time. And so what I did is I took this tier here, and I've noted on the map that there's this little line you're going to notice. And if I zoom in on this little line for just a second, you're going to see here proactive versus reactive. Below the line is reactive. Doing what you're told means someone had to tell you what to do. And that's reaction. As opposed to everything I'm going to put above this line is proactive. It's you taking responsibility for how to be of great help. And those are the tiers that follow afterwards. So what I learned from that lesson as a busboy at the Chinese food restaurant was there's got to be something better than just doing what you're told. Or at least something I could add to doing what you're told. And what I realized and filed away in my brain there was this part here, which is third on the 4 tiers of help, which is ask what you can do. Ask what you can learn or do. And I actually evolved it to learn over time, but really it started just from asking what I could do. After that Chinese food restaurant incident where my boss gave me a certain work ethic lesson there that I've never forgotten, I just started to realize, hey, if I've got extra capacity, I'm going to ask what I can do. What I started to evolve over time, though, is I started to evolve it into, well, what if I don't know how to do additional things that people need help with? Then maybe I could also ask, what can I learn? What can I learn that would be helpful so that I can do more for you over time? And that became the next tier of help that I discovered in my career. Now, if you're going to ask what it is you can do or what it is you can learn so that you can eventually do more, then you have to be prepared to actually do it, to actually go out there and get it done. So if you say, hey, what can I do to help? Then be ready to actually perform it. If you ask, what can I learn? And somebody says, you know, it'd be really helpful if you could learn how to do this particular activity or this particular skill, then be prepared to actually go learn it. I've had people that have done the whole, hey, what would be valuable to you that I could learn to be more helpful on our teams? And I've shared it with them and they just sort of disappeared on me and ghosted it and never actually did it. So if you're going to ask, be prepared to actually do it. Hopefully you're working with people who are mature and capable and understand that might take a little time, but I love it when people ask me this if they're going to actually take responsibility for coming back and learning it or doing it. So asking what it is you can learn and do is in fact proactive, whereas doing what you're told is reactive. But something these two have in common that occurred to me was that they both force the other person, your supervisor perhaps, to actually be responsible for coming up with this and with this for you. Here, you're being reactive, and here, while you're asking, you're still saying to someone else, hey, can you tell me what would be important, which makes it their responsibility. Now, I'm happy to do this for people, but it doesn't mean that it's the end of the tiers of helpfulness. It's just a next stage progression from this one, because we all need to learn, and of course we need to ask what it is we can learn and what it is we can do, especially as we're starting to figure out ourselves in a new job, or if we're early in our career, or we're just entering into a new set of situations. So if these two both require the person that's supervising you to have to come up with or invent what it is you can learn and do, or telling you what it is you need to do, then you're not necessarily taking all the responsibility you could be taking for how to elevate your helpfulness. And that's what led to Tier 2 help. And on Tier 2 help, it turns it just a little bit in the other direction and says, you, like yourself, offer ideas for what it is you can learn and do. So rather than ask what it is you can learn and do, which forces the other person to have to come up with it, why don't you offer ideas for it? Hey, I couldn't help but notice that in this particular situation, it looks like we need more help in this area. I was wondering, would it be helpful if I learned to do this, this, and this, and then I could take over that for you? It looks like we could use that backup, but I wanted to just check in. Does that look right? I also found these 2 other things I could potentially learn because it looks like we need help here and here. Which one would be most valuable from your point of view? And now all of a sudden, you're offering to help. Now, if you haven't seen one of my earlier this versus that's, I would check it out, and it's called Could You versus If You. If you're going to do number 2 and you're going to offer ideas for what it is you can learn and do, try on the if yous rather than the could use as an approach to doing that. So if you graduate from Tier 3 to Tier 2, what you've really graduated into is from having to ask someone else to figure out what it is you can learn and do, to really be able to offer ideas yourself, taking that responsibility for yourself, like to start noticing what's going on and to start offering ideas. Hey, it looks like I can do this, or I could do that. What do you think? And now with you adding the responsibility, it's an even higher level of helpfulness. So 4 is do what you're told. Number 3 is you asking what it is I can learn and do. And number 2 is you taking more responsibility for coming up with things you can learn and do and proposing them and making it not just proactive, but your responsibility that you share in some of the ideas there as well. And that brings us to number 1, anticipate what's needed and get it done. It's actually more difficult than it sounds. In order to do a good job anticipating what's needed, you have to know, what does everybody care about in their roles? What are the other teams up to? What kind of coordination is required? Where are we trying to head to with our different projects and strategies? But if you know that and you can actually anticipate, oh, you know what? I bet given what it is we did the last time this project came, I can tell this is going to head this way. I'm going to jump in there and I'm going to get this part done because last time we were all running around with our hair on fire because no one thought about it ahead of time. That's awesome. Wherever you can do that, you should be working to do that. But remember, I said it's not always easy. Don't do it if you don't actually know what to do, but definitely do it if you do. So what to notice on these 4 tiers of help is I've placed arrows between each of them, really to suggest these are all progressive to one another. So if you're down here, you can work your way up to number 3. After a while, you work your way from 3 to 2, and then from 2 to 1. Now, there are some tips you can get for example, perhaps accelerating, like, for example, you'll notice on the sketch map I gave you that there's this line right here. And this line right here, if I zoom in, you'll see it says right on it, accelerating. So what's going to happen here is you're going to see you can go from number 4, which is doing what you're told, to number 2, offering ideas for what it is you can learn and do. And that is a certain kind of acceleration, because what you're doing is you're saying, you know what, maybe I'll skip the part where I ask what I can learn and do, and maybe I'll just start offering from what it is I observe. Now, the thing to check here is that if you start getting number 2 wrong, you keep asking, can I learn this? Would it be helpful? Can I do this and it would be helpful? And your supervisors or others around you are saying, no, that probably wouldn't be the most helpful thing, then you may want to back down to number 3 and just make sure that you're asking a little bit more so that you can learn a little bit about what it is so that you can offer more the next time that's a little bit more informed. So the last point I want to talk about is something I've noticed when I share the 4 tiers of help with folks on my team in the past. I notice that really well-intentioned people go, how quickly can I get to number 1? And sometimes what they do is they go, you know what, I'm just going to go right from 4 to number 1. And you'll notice I made that red here. Let me zoom in and I'll give you a sense of why. I call it the bull in the china shop problem. Why is it the bull in the china shop problem? Because if you're trying to go all the way from number 4 right here to number 1 all in one fell swoop right there, then what you're going to find is that you may not know enough to be able to anticipate correctly. I've had really well-intentioned good people working for me that think they can anticipate what's needed and they go to get it done, but they didn't do it right, or they didn't do it well, or they were wrong. It just wasn't the thing that needed to get done. So I want to caution you, don't go all the way from 4 to number 1 if you're new at this. So be really thoughtful before you jump straight to number 1. Make sure that you've really learned enough. Stop off at number 3, stop off at number 2 on your way to getting to number 1. I certainly know on my teams, as much as I really value number 1, I do not value when people become the bulls in the china shop and they start unhinging some of the things we're doing because they didn't stop off to learn and do enough in the interim to get better and better before they attempted to anticipate what was needed and just get it done. Another thing I'll share with you about number 1 is that while I have definitely found it one of the most helpful ways to be oriented for people on my teams, is that if you really get good at anticipating what needs to be done and just start doing it, your supervisor, your manager, they may not notice it because you did such a good job just taking care of it. It's important that in any environment, especially ones where you're trying to get unstuck and get ahead, that as you start taking on more and more, make sure people are aware that you've done that. You don't have to brag, but you do have to get comfortable letting people know it can even be matter of fact. Hey, it used to be that this took a whole team of effort to do, but what I've done is anticipating it's going to keep happening. I put this process together. I've placed it here. I've assigned so-and-so to handle it, or I handle it myself, and I'm progressing it all the way along so that none of the rest of the team has to worry about it each time. And even if you just announce that you've done that as a matter of fact, people start to recognize and appreciate the things you might be taking care of that would have otherwise been invisible. If you're a supervisor and you've got people who are getting better at number one, you may have to check in on them and just find out what it is they're up to and say, hey, good job. Thanks so much for taking care of that. I'm so glad I asked. Because you may not see it if they get really, really good at it. I find that the higher up people get on my teams in this 4 tiers of help, the more I can't help but to give them new opportunities, new roles, and perhaps even new levels of compensation. Because the more they can take off of my plate or other folks' plates, and the more they can elevate everything through this top tier of help, the more valuable they are to me and the teams and the organization. So to recap, Tier 4 is do what you're told. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. It can be very helpful. I've got lots of people on my teams that do what they're told, and they have some sense of what it is they need to be doing on a regular basis, and they do it well, and they do it timely, and they do it with enthusiasm. If you're trying to get unstuck and get ahead, you'll probably find you got to cross that line into 3 or higher to start being proactive about the different areas and tiers of help you could be pursuing. So number 3, asking what you can learn, asking what you can do, and then make sure you actually learn and do it. Number 2, take responsibility for ideas for what you can learn and do. Propose 2 or 3 of them and have them weigh in so that they don't have to invent it. You already did. And then number 1, get knowledgeable enough to make sure that you can anticipate without someone having to tell you, or you even having to run it by someone. You just do a really good job of taking care of it, and people go, wow, that was great. Thanks for taking care of it. Just be cautious to avoid any bull in the china shop situations by trying to escalate yourself too fast before you've learned how to be really good at something. And that's this SkētchMap video on the 4 tiers of help. Be sure and check out the underlying episode I was talking about on my YouTube channel, Extra, episode number 7, Help Wanted, Know Your Value. Make sure that you've also downloaded the PDF so you can begin using the 4 tiers of help real SkētchMap any way you like. Until next time, set NēXTpectations. What's this? See if I can still remember? Oh yeah, 3 glasses, 1 hand. Some things you never forget.